Hamas has said that it's studying Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal, but has indicated that for it to agree, Israel must pull out from Gaza. The Israeli government has also welcomed developments, saying it was serious about a hostage deal and ceasefire. Well, let's cross over to Jerusalem to speak to my colleague Wira Davies, who joins us live now. And Wira, just when it comes to the details of what Donald Trump is proposing, do we know what they are?
Well, this is the key thing. Despite the pressure and enthusiasm from Donald Trump about an imminent peace deal, the details still haven't been released to the public. I'd imagine the negotiators know what's in this deal. Certainly the Israelis will know what's in this deal because they were there when it was hashed out in Washington. But the red lines in the sand seem to be still there for both sides. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday said that Hamas would be defeated, there would be no going back, so maintaining his pretty hardline position. Hamas, for its part, is still saying that there must be a long-term peace agreement after any ceasefire deal expires, because they don't want, as happened last time, a return to war with its devastating consequences. And also Hamas wants Israeli military troops to partially withdraw, at the very least, from Gaza. So publicly, at least, there seems to be no meeting of minds. Obviously a lot of mistrust between the two sides after 21 months of war. But the intermediators, the mediators from Qatar and Egypt are believed to be working hard and are speaking to both sides, perhaps to try and get some sort of language which would allow them to maintain their positions but still come to this 60-day ceasefire agreement.
And also there's a framework for the release of hostages that we know that Israel desperately needs.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention that. Of course, for most members of the Israeli public and the Israeli government, the release of the remaining hostages, 23 of whom are still thought to be alive, is a must. I mean, that must happen, and I think it's very difficult to see how any peace deal from an Israeli perspective cannot involve the release of most, if not all, of the remaining hostages. This may happen next week, we don't know. Netanyahu is going to Washington. The problem is, in the meantime, is that Israel has really stepped up its military campaign in Gaza. Thousands of people have been forced to evacuate. There are about 100 deaths every day in Gaza, including that awful phrase, collateral damage, civilians killed when Israel is striking a military target. Yesterday, there was a very well-known Gazan surgeon called Dr. Marwan Sultan, who was killed along with his family in his home. Israel says it was attacking a Hamas target and was looking into possible civilian casualties, but this is something that is now happening with increasing regularity.
Yeah, and there's an awful lot of concern about the aid distribution mechanism, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But just when it comes to the ceasefire, our understanding is that Donald Trump is saying that the sides have to agree. Hamas, he says, has to take this deal because it will not get better. And on social media, he was writing, it will only get worse, in caps locks. So arguably, he is really pushing for this.
Massively so, and it's a very good point you make about aid, because it might not be a direct part of the peace deal, but it is or the ceasefire agreement, but it's something that the international community and aid agencies will be really pushing for, as happened last time under the last ceasefire agreement. They want to drop this very controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation system because it's not working effectively. They say too many people are dying in and around the aid centres. What they want is for the UN, the other bodies like the World Food Programme, the World Health Organization, to bring aid in to their 400 centres around Gaza to the people who need it and get that badly needed food aid, medical supplies to the people who need it. So that might be part of any future ceasefire agreement.
Wira, as always, really good to get your reporting there, your clarity from Jerusalem. Wira Davies joining us live. Well, we're going to pick up with some of the points that Wira was making with Yossi Beilin, who is a former Israeli justice minister, and also, sir, you were a key figure in the Oslo peace process. Now, as we were hearing from our correspondent in Jerusalem, the details we don't exactly know as to what are in this peace plan that has been proposed by Donald Trump, but he's very keen for it to go through. But the point is, we've got what is arguably an immovable object hitting an unstoppable force. We have Benjamin Netanyahu vowing that there will be no Hamas in post-war Gaza, and Hamas want a withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Arguably, these two aren't compatible.
Yeah, I mean, it is very, very difficult to believe that we are on the verge of the end of the war and the release of all our hostages. And I really don't understand, why do we need 60 days? What are we going to do during these 60 days? The war is over. Israel won over Hamas. Full stop. We can go back home. We can allow the local people to deal with the providing of food and the humanitarian needs. We shouldn't be there. We should not pay the price of the people who are queuing and being killed by who, God knows whom. The point is that somebody doesn't want to end this war, and I don't see the morning after at all. I don't see a moment in which, after 60 days, the Hamas people are saying, oh, okay, these are the last hostages, and what then? We go home, we go elsewhere, we stay in Gaza. All these things have to be dealt with, and I think that it should be dealt with in few weeks, not in months.
Can I just pick up on the point that you make that Israel has won? Arguably for Benjamin Netanyahu, a victory for Israel is the dissolution of Hamas. That hasn't happened.
How can it happen? How can it happen? I mean, the leadership of Hamas is not there anymore. They were killed. I don't know. I cannot tell you even one name who is relevant enough or prominent enough in Hamas that I know his name. So it's only the second or third tiers which are still there. If Israel demands, and this is more than legitimate, that Hamas will leave Gaza and find itself in Qatar, in Iran, wherever, fine, let us negotiate this point. And they should get from us some kind of immunity. That is a real problem. And that has to be solved yesterday. And it can be solved. It was solved in other circumstances, and it can be solved now. Once this is solved, we can get back our hostages. They are dying every day in the tunnels. And somebody looks at it and says, yeah, very sad, rather than putting an end to this situation.
Yossi, with a minute to go, how can it be solved? Because arguably we have Israel now not confirming whether they've agreed to whatever the conditions are. Hamas are saying that they're looking at this proposal from Donald Trump. They're ready and serious to reach a deal. But yet we're still talking about the possibility of a ceasefire. How can that be pushed forward?
The most important thing is that in the morning after, there will be an Arab administration in Gaza, an interim one, until there is a Palestinian state, which includes Gaza and the West Bank. Towards this, there should be a resumption of the talks between the government of Israel and the PLO in order to get to the permanent agreement. Once there are talks, it would be possible to the Arab partners like the Emirates and others to put boots on the ground and to help in putting the order and law in Gaza back. And the specific issue of allowing some of the Hamas leaders to leave Gaza, I don't think that this should be the obstacle that prevents us from putting an end to the current situation. The current situation is unbearable for everybody there. And the number of 60 days, I don't know who is the genius who invented it, but there is no need for so long a while.
Yossi Beilin, former Israeli Justice Minister, thank you for your thoughts.